Hello, lab experts. In this episode, we sit down with Ogunsile Abiodun. He's a scientist with an HND from Moshood Abiola Polytechnic and a Bachelor of Science from Kwara State University in Nigeria. His major from both programs was microbiology.
And there are little things that are contributing to this problem of antimicrobial resistance, just misuse of drugs, just what you can call abuse of drugs, and or people not completing their doses. And these are little things that just require just little education for people, and then they get to know what problem or the consequences of not actually doing their part.
Today, what we discuss is antimicrobial resistance. Without much further ado, let's talk MedLab. Once again, welcome to the Rock Diagnostics podcast, fellow medical lab scientists. Today, we are here with a colleague, Ogunsile Abiodun, currently in Thailand. So tell me, how is Thailand?
Oh, very fine. I'm doing okay. My study is going pretty well as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Tell me, how did you end up in Thailand? I'm sure there are some people who might be interested. Like, what sort of research landed you over there?
Oh, yeah, actually, since, let me say, during my undergraduate studies, it has been my ambition, my goal to go outside Nigeria to study, especially on a funded or scholarship study. So luckily or fortunately for me, during my BSc, let me just say with grace on my side, I was able to graduate with a very good result. And then I started searching for supervisors, or professors outside Nigeria, sending my CVs and trying to discuss with them what I can do. And fortunately, I got this. And then early this year, I joined this institution for my graduate study.
Yeah, actually, that's interesting. Maybe it's not the topic for today, but maybe if you're interested, we could have another discussion to talk about that, because that's something that some people are interested in, but don't necessarily know how to make the step forward to be sending emails to professors or how to talk to them and that sort of thing. So I think that's something people would really want to know about.
Yeah, definitely. One just have to be strategic and learn the art of navigating this way in order to be successful with this.
Yeah. And so in your lab over there, what do you do?
Basically, my research work is focused on antimicrobial resistance. Okay. And this is just like a silent pandemic. Recently, we have not even recovered from the crisis of COVID-19. Yeah. And then what people don't know is that there are other diseases that are quite resistant to drugs, that they are just like a time bomb. And then so there are so many research going on worldwide in order to curtail this problem, to ensure that we eventually find a solution, because there have been a forecast. There have been several forecasts because scientists will work with you, we work we foresee what. So even the figures we have presently, they are outrageous when it comes to antimicrobial resistance. But the problem is that I don't know why Africa is a little silent when it comes to this problem of antimicrobial resistance.
I think one of the things also is that the population doesn't necessarily know about what is happening. I mean, especially in our countries where, well, depending on where you go, in some more affluent areas, people may have the time to actually sit down to learn. But in some other areas where people, let's say, are still thinking about what they are going to eat today. They don't necessarily have the time to stop and listen to you when you are talking to them about antimicrobial resistance, right? They want to be moving around. They're like, I have this other thing to do. Just let me go. I'll think about that later. But the problem is it's going to affect our children later. Even if it doesn't, it's already starting to affect us, but even our children. And with time, it's going to be more and more of a problem if we don't do anything about it.
Definitely. And the issue is this, you know, recently I was thinking the problem of we faced during the COVID-19 and the way the West were massacred by this COVID-19. Sometimes I get to think, what if it happens in Africa? We're just fortunate not to experience this kind, because we are not just ready. Basically, like you told me, we are focused more because we lack those basic amenities: food, water, electricity, clothes, which people run after. And then it's not really helping us to focus on these sensitive issues that is And I also like to tell you that based on my findings recently, even this problem of antimicrobial resistance, Africa and Asia, these areas are more like this problem is more like we are more likely to be affected most. Yeah, in the nearest future, I'm talking about around 2050, if care is not taken. And you know, there are little things that are contributing to this problem of antimicrobial resistance, just misuse of drugs, just what you can call abuse of drugs, and or people not completing their doses. And you know, these are little things that just require just little education for people, and then they get to know what problem or the consequences of not actually doing their part. They can do their part, the scientists can do their part, the government have to do their part, and together we can actually do something very serious. And if you look at the World Health Organization, have been going out with one slogan, one campaign, that one action, that we all have to come together, all the stakeholders. Well, you know, the thing is that we can just speak the word, we can just write the papers without the action plan. The action plan is very, very important, and it is necessary to arrest this problem of antimicrobial resistance.
Yeah. And I mean, luckily, we still have people like you who are doing some of the research and that can tell us what's actually happening, especially that antimicrobial resistance is something that changes very rapidly year by year, from one year to the next. And so it's always important to have people who are doing the research in real time to be able to tell us, all right, this year we're having problems with these kinds of organisms, those kinds of organisms. So what sorts of diseases, based on your research, are causing the most problems? Or with what kinds of organisms do we have the most problems when it comes to antimicrobial resistance?
Okay. Actually, we have quite numbers of resistant organisms. We have, and then, you know, according to the WHO, they have been categorized based on the menace or their level of threat. Mm-hmm. So they've been categorized into those, I think, serious. I think serious, those are concerning. Okay, sorry, as urgent, serious, and concerning. And those urgent, they are more. I think they are the rate of their resistance is very, very high. Mm-hmm. If I want to speak from the microbiology aspect, I think E. coli, the resistance strain of E. coli has been very, very serious, and it has the highest record. It has the highest record of antimicrobial causing. I mean, I'm talking about mortality and morbidity rates, the prevalence of this resistant organism. Then followed by Staphylococcus aureus. we have the methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, you have the vancomycin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. In fact, you have the Clostridium difficile, you have a lot of resistant organisms, and which scientists are doing a lot of work, research on to find a way to control or reduce the rate at which they cause damage. And the most important thing we need to know is that there is something they call antibiotics, the post-antibiotic era. People don't know that we're already at post-antibiotic era. We are in an era where the drugs, they have failed when it comes to combating the resistance of these organisms or these pathogens. Now, what science is trying to do is to find an effective or a novel alternative. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And this can be done through medical research, that is what we don't have in Africa. I was watching one of the podcasts, and one of the invitees was talking about the Republic of South Africa, and if South Africa could boast of about 400 medical standard laboratories. And after watching that videos, I went to talk to a friend who is also from Kenya, and he told me that even the entire world knows that when it comes to molecular biology, South Africa, they have it. Yeah. South Africa is where, that is where, but I was also looking at the statement that says maybe Nigeria has just about 5. And that is why you see, during the problem of COVID-19, the Omicron variant the South Africans were able to discover that because of their very good and standard laboratory and their expertise in the molecular biology. Yeah. You can think of it, if most African countries can just emulate the nation of South Africa. South Africa is a place where many scientists want to go to because of the facilities, because of the I'm talking about the expertise people there that are, so the government in other African countries need to wake up. They need to do something. South Africa alone cannot. Thank God South Africa was able to discover Omicron. What if Omicron, came up in Nigeria or in Ghana? So the world would be silent about it. It would have wrecked a lot of, it would have done a lot of wreckage or havoc before the world would even know about it. So I think we can do better. We can do better.
Yeah, we can do better. But I think still, countries like, it's true that sometimes we complain about countries like Nigeria, but actually there's a lot of work being done there. It's just that, how to put that, in some cases, there are extra problems that come and make things, that complicate things a lot. Yeah, true. Yeah. But I think in Africa, there are a couple of countries that people, like you said, South Africa, that people will tend to look to. Some of the countries in the northern part also, a couple of them.
Yeah,
then
of course.
Every once in a while,
actually, I'm not playing the blaming games here. What I'm trying to say is that we can just set our priority right. Because the priorities, like what I'm trying to say is that, even if you look at the entire medical sector in Africa or in these countries, I think sometimes last year I went to a research institute in Nigeria as a young man who was actually aspiring to and I was trying to volunteer, because one thing is that, I was trying to volunteer, but my application was not accepted. Yeah. You understand?
That's what I mean. Like, there are some extra problems apart from the research that are going to come and are going to try to box you in. And sometimes it's true. I don't understand that. Why? It's true that you can't let anyone come to your lab, but normally when you see someone with credentials and that on top of that wants to help, a research laboratory usually is a place where you need the help anyway. So if someone volunteers to come and help and you see that they have the skills, normally you should actually be very happy to be bringing in that person. Now, if let's say you are in an institution that is more private and then there are secrets to be kept, I would understand. But if it's a public institution, then, but I mean, like I said, in our countries, there are tons of various things that are going to come and add to the problems we already have in some situations. Yeah.
Definitely.
Now, your area, you work mostly, if I understand well, on antimicrobial resistance.
Yeah.
What sort of work do you do?
Yeah, right now I'm trying to work on a novel alternative. I'm trying to get actually something like a bioactive compound from another bacteria, which can actually be used to cure this methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Because, like I told you, that this methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus is it has shown resistance to many first-line antibiotics. And right now, we are at a stage whereby people that are treated, let's say, of the people that have gone through chemotherapy, people that sustain even little injuries, people that sustain or people that with HIV might not be able to survive, because this methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, or let me put it this way, this Staphylococcus aureus is an organism that you find on the body of man. You understand? And when it finds its way into the sterile part of the body, it becomes a major problem. And this organism, right now, it has become resistant to many drugs. So what I'm trying to do in my laboratory is that I'm trying to find a novel alternative, which we can eventually use I'm trying to isolate it from this bacteria which I told you. Mm-hmm. So whereby we can develop a drug from it. Yeah. We can eventually develop a drug from it. So I'm at the stage where I'm testing for the potency of this bioactive compound against this resistant organism.
Yeah, and does it look promising from the results you've been getting?
Honestly, it looks very promising, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Mm-hmm. There's still a lot of work to be done.
As interestingly, there's a lot of work that's starting to be done also in this area, like using other bacteria, using plants, using even other organisms like termites, and then trying to extract other active compounds from them to see if they work. And there's actually a lot of promising research that is ongoing. But one thing I'm wondering, once the research is done, are there any plans for these? Let's say you find something that is as powerful as many of these antibiotics. What's the next step usually? What can you do after?
Actually, normally, when you find this bioactive compound, you are supposed to conduct some tests, because most or many of these substances may actually be potent. The organism or the resistant organism might be susceptible to them, but they may be toxic to human. Yeah, so you need to do a lot of research to also determine their toxicity level. So there's still a lot of work that you are going to do before they can. And another thing is that they have to go through the clinical stages. They have to subject them to the clinical stages, the preclinical stages and clinical stages. And if they pass most of these, and these are the 10 stages where most drugs or most bioactive compounds fail. So they don't eventually, because I was also trying to look at in the last few decades, I'm trying to look at how many findings were done and how many eventually became a success, that was successful, was successfully processed into the final drug. And I discovered that there's a huge decline. So at this stage, when you eventually isolate or reveal this compound, there is more to be done. There's a lot of tests to be done in order to ensure that, okay, when this thing becomes drugs and when people consume them, the safety and every other thing that needs to be done.
And the huge decline is due to what? Is it due to toxicity, or is it because you're moving from in vitro experiments to and given actually some drugs in vivo? What's the main reason for the big decline?
Obviously, there's a kind of loss of interest from major or many pharmaceutical organizations. Many pharmaceutical organizations, they are folding up. Many have lost hope. Many have lost interest. And then, and aside from that, I think it's a huge task that demands a lot of cost. A lot of cost is also involved. Yeah. So I think, I think that sometimes people get discouraged. At times, there's lack of funds. At times, there are many other factors that is eventually contributing to this.
Mm-hmm. Now, when there,
but I can also tell you that there are quite few of them that maybe there are people working on it. You know, we've heard about names, great names that eventually made a breakthrough, and something big eventually came up from that.
Yeah. Now, when there's a lack of funds, do you know if there are any groups like that have tried to maybe get a couple scientists together, let's say on the African continent, to try and actually do the production? I mean, let's say you are a biologist and then you did the research, you found a little bit more about the drug, and let's say you decided to get in partnership with someone that's into pharmacology or pharmacy, and then a couple other people, and you come together. Is that a kind of enterprise that would work, where you could actually apply for funds and actually be able to bring some of these drugs to the market?
Honestly, on the continent of Africa, I don't know. And even if there is, maybe you find that maybe in the north, in the south, I don't know. But I don't think many exist in West Africa or East Africa. But when you go to the West, I mean, I'm talking about Europe, I'm talking about America. I think there are many students benefiting from this kind of research. And you know, the West, these American schools, UK schools, these professors, they get them on board, they train them, and you know, many learn from this. But the problem is, even when you acquire this knowledge, if you want to go back to Africa to eventually apply this knowledge, I think that's another huge problem.
Yeah. Now, moving back a little bit more to the general population, people who don't necessarily know about antimicrobial resistance, but well, it affects them. What do you think would be like an interesting way of getting the information to them?
First of all, I think education is very, very necessary. It's essential, and crucial to way of even me. I remember when I haven't gotten to this stage, at the point in time, especially when I'm taking the anti-malaria, I mean, or the drugs for malaria. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I wouldn't just complete it for no reason. But if you know that if you don't complete your dose, if you don't complete this dose, you know that in your body, there is possibility that the surviving organism will become resistant to this drug. And then when eventually you got bitten by mosquito again, the mosquito can transfer this resistant strain to another person, and by so doing, the spread of this resistant strain of a parasite. You know, when people get to know these things, even from the, and then, one major problem we have in Africa is that all this, I don't know how to put it, all these small shop chemists, people that are prescribing or people that are selling drugs that are not even supposed to be. Because normally, it's a pharmacist is going to educate you on what to do with your drugs. But, these things are not well coordinated, and the lack of organization. So people need education. People need to know the consequence of doing so, of some of their action. And then other people also abuse drugs. So I think for the common people, I mean, that is it.
A little bit more education. I think education would help, but I think it's also something that's a bit more psychological. So I remember, I think it was last year or so, I was reading a book by a behavioral psychologist, Dan Ariely. He wrote a book in the past that I read a long time ago called Predictably Irrational. This was a different book. But in this book, he was explaining how he got, I believe it was hepatitis C a long time ago. I think he was still in Israel at that point. And there was a new treatment that involved injecting himself every evening. And so at the end of the whole procedure, when he asked the medical doctors, like, how did other people do? He found out that he was the only person that actually followed the treatment to the end. And so he was the only one that really got rid of his hepatitis C infection. Other people had not, because they didn't really follow the regimen all the way to the end. And I think it's also partly because they had to inject themselves, and it's something that's hard to do. But he was also talking in that same book about studies that have been done where when people are asked to give drugs, let's say to people that they're in charge of, let's say their children, or if they have to give drugs to their pets, then they give it all the way to the ends. Like they don't miss anything. But as soon as it's themselves, then that's when it becomes hard. So yeah, I think there's also a psychological component to all of that in some cases. Because when you start feeling better, in some cases you start thinking, okay, I'm fine.
Okay.
I mean, you can't see what's in your blood, so you don't really know, but you feel better, so you start thinking, okay, it's fine, I can. But then in some cases, that's what kills us, unfortunately.
Yeah. You're correct. You're very correct. Yeah, I think people, it still comes to people's knowledge. Yeah, the mentality. Yeah, like you said, because well, we are different. The way some people, the way they approach to things, the approach we have to things differ. Some people, when you give them something, when you give them just a rule or rules or regulations, they follow it strictly.
Yes.
And some people, maybe it has to do with some backgrounds too. Maybe some people, so approach as well, it matters a lot. Yeah. But when everybody knows that my action can put the entire nation or the entire world in jeopardy, I think it's all about taking responsibility anyway.
Now, assuming there are some people, I don't know, we hadn't talked, maybe you can give me an idea. Assuming there are some people who are watching this and are med lab scientists or are biologists, and let's say they're still on the continent, they haven't traveled out, but they are interested to doing some more research on the area of antimicrobial resistance. When I say research, I don't mean just theoretical, but actually in a lab. What's the smallest sort of experiment that you could recommend someone do that has the biological experience, hasn't necessarily worked in antimicrobial resistance, but would like to do something that could actually help people around in their community?
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think the one thing is that you need to get yourself informed. Information is power. Information is key. And I think people like that, like me when I was back home, at a point in time, because I decided not to my social media, I decided to start using it positively. in the sense that I regulate what I do there. I regulate the people, the kind of people I follow, the kind of information access that I get. So people like that can also, nothing is too big or it's too small. Like you, like some of them, okay, fine. If you want to, like we talk about sensitization now.
Yeah.
Many people don't know about this. You as a biologist, you as a scientist, there are many secondary schools out there. Secondary school students, yeah, you can go there. You can now you can go online, get as many information as you want, start from somewhere, then do the sensitization, talk to them, you can give a talk, you can do a show. Maybe some of our radio stations, some of our television programs, you know, you don't need to demand huge amount of money for people that brings educative talk or show. So people will get to, when people have access to information, then they begin to spread this knowledge.
So you can already
start from,
so you can already start with something as simple as communication, talking to universities, high schools around you.
Even hashtag, even hashtag on social media, something like that. Like me, on my social media, I do celebrate the World Antimicrobial Resistance Day.
Okay.
I do put it on my social media. I do follow people that are working in this area. When they put a post, I do reshare this post so that other people can also, so we can spread the news together.
Yeah. I think in some cases you can even start just even by talking to members of your family, people around you.
Exactly.
Because in our countries you have a situation
charity begins
where,
at home.
Yeah, exactly. Because in our countries you may have someone that has, let's say, a cold and then just runs to the pharmacy and then just asks them, okay, I'd like this antibiotic, maybe because they've used it in the past and then maybe it worked once. So they'll go, okay, I want this. And in some cases at the pharmacy, they may just give it to the person and they go home and then they start using it. And on top of that, they don't even use it to the end. And so sometimes that's how some of these problems start. And so if you can already even start talking to people around you, something that's extremely helpful.
Many don't even know that the drug they are taking is like a chemical that it's usually has impact on their metabolism.
Yeah.
So many people don't know that when you consume the drug, it's like something is coming to impact, to change your system. So I think, like you said, I think it can start from the family.
Yeah. All right. So,
and even people that in the church, in the mosque, you know, they can also take advantage of this to talk to people over there.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you ever read about this, but I think we also are having to, we are starting to have some issues with also resistance when it comes to Plasmodium and some of the drugs that we have been using. So I think that's also something that over time might become very dangerous, especially in our countries. We don't pay attention to how we use all these drugs. Yeah.
Yeah. Malaria is like, I think I was talking to somebody about 2 days ago who wants to take up a project on malaria, and I think I was trying to tell them how big and how huge this thing is in Africa.
Yeah.
So somebody like me, I know what it is back home. So it's a serious problem. And if you go and check the facts, you go and check the statistics of the deaths, the mortality rates in the last 3 years, you are going to see an increase.
Yeah.
If you go and check 2019, 2020, you are going to see a major rise. But people don't know, because what happened is that once it doesn't get to me, you think nothing is happening out there.
Yeah.
But people are dropping, they drop dead day by day.
Yeah.
By this problem of resistant parasites or pathogens.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah. All right. So thanks a lot for taking the time to talk to us today about antimicrobial resistance. Hopefully, we are going to be able to have you again soon to talk about maybe some of the more practical aspects of your work. if let's say you get to a
Okay.
stage where you are getting some results that can actually be shared, I think people will be very happy to also hear about that. Now, tell us, what does your future in research look like according to you in the next 5-10 years? What do you see yourself doing?
Honestly, I last year this same question was asked, and then somebody was asking me about 5 years plan or goal, and I told the person, I said, in the next 5 years, I'm going to be in the lab, a researcher, and I was even far from it. I was just fast forward to a year. I'm already here. So actually, I plan to go into research and academics, and after this program, I think I'm going to take up another another opportunity that that will give me the ground to also do further research, especially in this area of focus. So I think research, as they say, is research. You search and you search again. So we keep researching, but I hope to also delve into academics so that I can share the knowledge acquired and the impact the coming generation.
Yeah, that's a wonderful idea. We need more people doing the research, especially people that can help do research that's going to help solve some of the big problems that we are suffering from today, especially in the health sector. It's one very big thing. People are dying every day, in some cases from issues that don't really need to be issues if you really think about it. Because it's just about education.
The preventable deaths.
Exactly.
The preventable deaths.
It's preventable. I mean, something like you get a cancer, all right, I understand, it can happen to anybody. You could do whatever you want. If genetically there is something there, it's going to come, you are going to get it. But there are tons of deaths that we could prevent even with things as simple as clean drinking water that kill children like every single year. And so I think we need people like you that do the research and that also come in and talk about the research so that more people can hear what's actually happening. And from what you've done, can get from it some tips on how to change their lives to prevent some of these diseases. And that's one of the reasons also why we do this. So thanks a lot for taking the time.
It's my pleasure.